So much different. Seems like it should only double.
I don't know. We're live on YouTube.
Good evening, council members, and welcome to this meeting of February 14th. And so it's happy Valentine's Day for everyone. And actually, today is a very joyful day for council and for the municipality, as it is our first official council meeting in these new premises. And so we're really looking forward to March 24th, which is a Friday. And at 4 p.m., we will be holding the official opening on premises. And we invite all citizens. There will be an official ceremony, an official ribbon cutting ceremony. And so looking forward to that. On that note, we will move forward to the adoption of the agenda. Madam Clerk?
I require a mover and a seconder. By Councillor Kelly and seconded by Councillor Champagne. That the draft agenda presented to council and dated the 14th day of February 2023 be adopted as prepared.
All in favor? C'est bon, carry. Thank you so much. And online we have Councillor Trahan, and we see him very well, and I understand he hears us very well. So again, the technology is working very good. Good choices, Mr. CEO.
We'll see. We'll see how the night goes.
Anyway, we look forward to hearing from citizens as well, for sure, about how the sound carries across. And so on that note, we move to business arising from the minute. Oh, no, we have accepting the minutes. Correct. So sorry.
Thank you.
Please, Madam Clerk.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Yeager and seconded by Councillor Champagne. That the minutes of the regular meeting of council held January 10th and the special meetings of council held January 26th, 31st, and February 2nd, 2023 be adopted as circulated.
All in favor? C'est bon, carry. Thank you so much. Any business arising from the minutes? Deputy Mayor Ruakers.
So I just have a question because I'm going to get the terminology wrong. So we agreed upon a truck to be bought, and we had to go for a truck that was higher in price than the red truck because it didn't meet the RFP. Okay, I knew I was going to mess that up. Anyways, RFP. And I was just wondering, I mean, because we want to keep the colors the same, but I'm wondering if that is something that could be it's just a question I have. Is it better just to have an open RPF for any color to get a better price vehicle?
So certainly I'll turn it over to our CEO in a moment to comment. It is a discussion that made us all uncomfortable. I do recall when it came forward because we felt that the red truck should not have been part of the equation. And so it complicated things for us. And so certainly so on that note, I will turn it over to our CEO because I believe the truck's been delivered.
Yeah, so the truck's been delivered, it's been paid for, it's been used for about close to a month now. The discussion we had at that start was we should have just disqualified that bid to start off with because it didn't meet the requirements of the RFP. So basically the specs that we had put forward. So in the future, that's what will happen. You're gonna get that in vehicles pricing based on different, what do you call them, accessories, colors and that. But as a brand, I mean, for East Ferris, we've always looked at charcoal colors, grays kind of thing. They're not all identical in color. You won't get that. From year to year, whites tend to stay whites, right? You see the city of North Bay uses white. That's what their color is, right? But from one year to the next, you'll have a gray that's closer to a silver that might be a charcoal. It's going to change. So from year to year, that's what we've decided to do, was keep like a color for branding, basically. And that's why the red one, right from the get-go, should have just been eliminated as part of the process, and it wasn't. So they had put forward a truck that was available right away off the lot that was flaming red. So, I mean, it should have been just disqualified in the process.
I understand why he was put in there. It's just that availability was terrible.
Wait, there's
And
that.
so there was trucks available. They shouldn't be part of the equation, I think, but the dealership put it in place. I'm not gonna speak for Greg, but it was put in place here. There's one available now. It's a little cheaper. It's not the right year. It's older. So it shouldn't even be part of the equation. And we wouldn't have got where we are today.
I'll be honest with pickup trucks. If council said the budget's $60,000 for a pickup truck, we're always gonna get exactly what we want if we didn't go through an RFP process and we allowed staff to go to the lot and say, if it's available now, I can get it for a better deal. When you start telling them to put it in writing, put it forward, and they start saying, well, it's available because that's what we got. It's available in 6 months, 8 months. Well, because they're gonna put the order in. You're paying whatever price it is that they're buying it for. You can get a better deal going to the lot and usually negotiate. The issue with that, you're gonna get someone that says, well, they went to Stockfish because they're friends with them. They went to Farquhar's because they have a family member.
Mhm.
So there's, for transparency, you go out to RFP, right? So the best way to do it is just disqualify if they don't meet the criteria and the specs.
That's a good comment.
So, and that's one that we shouldn't even brought forward in the report.
Mhm.
I mean, in all honesty, it was the most transparent, I guess. That was a submission.
Yeah.
But it didn't meet the specs.
I remember you said that too.
So, I mean, we could have saved, I think it was close to about $9,000 going with Flaming Red. So be it. I don't know. I mean, we're not hiding anything.
No.
That's what the decision was.
That was the concurrence. Any other items under business arising from the minutes? Okay, there being none, declarations of conflict of interest or pecuniary interest thereof.
But at this time, if something comes up, we'll let you know.
Okay, thank you. Okay. There being none, chair's comments. I have a few comments. I did want to thank Deputy Mayor Riakos, who went to the ECDEV conference in Toronto, and she sent us an excellent summary of the discussion. So well done. And not sure we'll all write as long reports, but it was very complete. And it was really well done. Yeah, outstanding. And so we know the conference was about childcare. And so, so we're pursuing on the issue of childcare. That's something we have at heart, and we still have other steps that we're going to be taking. So well done. Yeah. Councillor Kelly, we understand you've been named to Phenom board, and I think Councillor Trahan said it well. We knew from the get-go that you would be re-elected to the Phenom board, but nonetheless, it was a process, and you came through with flying colors, and so we're delighted and congratulate you. Council did attend the Roma conference. We were all there. There were excellent delegations. We only had the one delegation by choice. We met with I think it was as well, it was placed on Facebook. There was a photo, but we did meet with the Assistant Deputy Minister of Education, and she did promise follow-ups with us of different information. So I think it was a very good meeting, and we've heard from our DSAB. I think they've contacted the municipality. So I think there are matters that do full circles that come back, and hopefully, and again, this was on childcare, so hopefully, matter that we'll continue to see some development. So thank anyone else that'd like to mention anything under chair's comments? Okay. On that note, we will proceed. We do have our delegation, a first delegation this evening, and Madame Lavigne, I believe you will be making the delegation. So if you can please advance. So. So you're live on East Terrace TV. Anyway, thank you for being here. So I think Madame Clerk explained to you the process. We turn it over to you.
Perfect. All right, so I'm just going to read off this paper so I don't go all over the place. So I'm here today to go over what I view as some issues with the township practice. I live on Gilmet Road in Corbeil, and was the only existing home that was next to all the builds Marcel Degani has been building that had homeowners in it at the time when the council approved the severances. I could go into detail about the issues that happened with that process, but there just isn't enough time. I'm here today to discuss the township's mishandling of the lot next door to us. When these lots were approved in 2018, we were promised that the site plan control was put in place so that the township would have input in the building process so they could ensure greenery and maintain the country appeal. To maintain that the country appeal was maintained. Council also approved an 8-meter green zone around the properties that would, that could not be touched. We checked in with Greg periodically to ensure things had not changed and confirmed he would be working with the builder once the lot was sold to support the building as far away as possible from our plot line. for privacy. We knew at this time this was best efforts, which we appreciated. On June 15th of 2022, I sent Greg an email after knowing the lot was sold and seeing work starting next door. I asked him if he had any updates on house placement yet, and if he was working with them to try and encourage them building as far away as possible, as previously discussed, from our lot line. He replied stating they did submit an initial site plan with the building permit a few days ago. The house is situated beyond the minimum setbacks, but still relatively closer to your side of the property line. They've agreed to move the house to a more central spot on the lot, which brings the total setback to your property line to 28 meters. For context, their setbacks from the southerly side lot line is 50 meters. So I think the setup should be in line with what you were hoping for. He attached the drawing of the plans, which included the septic and the house. I replied to him about the septic being right beside our house and stated that I remember there being something in place about maintaining so many feet of trees at the property line. I asked how many feet will there be maintaining between our house and the septic? Can we request it be as much as possible? As the proposed would give a clear path if it's empty to their house with a little coverage of trees. Greg's reply to this was that the septic system has to go somewhere in that general area due to the very large setbacks required from the lake, but we will locate it centrally on the lot and away from your property line. To add some context, the dashed line on the side of your property is indicating the required 8 meters, approximately 26 feet setback. So that is the email word for word from Greg. On July 13th of 2022, I emailed Greg asking if there had been any changes to the plans he had previously sent us. I also asked about the 8 meters because it appeared they were cutting trees down within the 8 meter zone and that maybe house placement had changed. He replied that the house placement had not changed and that the setbacks have nothing to do with the trees, but that they do have to leave some vegetation on the lot. I called him because that was not in line with what we had previously discussed or when the lots were severed in 2018, or based on the previous emails earlier that I just talked about. Everything was cleared up and I was satisfied that there would be an 8 meter buffer. We had spoken a couple times over the phone in the summer/fall. And then once we saw the stakes being built, Greg assured us that there was no changes to the site plan. Fast forward to November 28th of 2022. I emailed Greg asking for clarity on the setbacks and 8 meters, as it appeared that they were starting to dig the septic bed beside the front right corner of the home, which was not the spot where we were anticipating or were given. I stated this, not the location you advised us, as it's nowhere near a septic and that it wasn't even behind the lake setbacks. I got an auto reply that he was away and returning on December 12th of 2022. I then phoned the township same day and spoke with Paul Gervais. He quickly stated to me I needed to speak with Greg. I explained to him that he's away and they are starting to cut trees down, and now. I told him I had concerns they would cut all these trees down and then we would lose all of the privacy from them having to turn around and cut even more trees down since the septic wasn't even being put to meet the setbacks from the lake. He opened the site plan and said, the septic is behind the house on the plan, which I replied, that is what we were told as well, but I'm looking at it right now and it's nowhere near where they said it was going to be. He told me to contact the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Officer, which I did. And so Paul Gervais also stated that he knows nothing about an 8 meter buffer. I phoned the Mattawa Conservation Officer, and he also stated that the plan submitted to him showed it behind the house central, but he said there isn't much he can do until they call for an inspection. He said he would contact Agani Carpentry to mind them of these setbacks, but ultimately he has no say until the inspection. He said at which point they would need to move it or apply for a variance. I expressed my concerns with him and the township about being proactive, and so that 2 spots wouldn't need to be cleared, making less trees have to be cut down, but no one seemed to care. Directions were made. A few days later, they started filling in the hole, and then on December 12th, cut down more trees in a new septic spot. Still not behind the house, and I don't believe that it even meets the setback still based on the new drawing Greg sent me, but it is what it is. Before the septic issues arose, we had found out from the surveyor that the builder had buried the newly placed survey pegs in front of our left corner of our lot. This alerted us to the fact that Agani had actually buried them while installing the hydro line, which is actually installed across our property line. Although it is minimal, it's the point, and we did not like that Marcel neglected this and did not approach us before doing this. Had he asked permission, we likely would have allowed it. At this point, it was clear that the township had no interest in helping enforce what they had put in place for privacy measures, and Greg was always defending Marcel Agani. We looked into legal options, and based on third-party direction, we made some official documented complaints with the township to have in case we decided to move forward with legal action, since the enjoyment of our home has been compromised. There was a generator running for approximately 3 weeks straight, 24/7, that could be heard inside our home, and my in-laws could hear it next door at their property. We also looked into the rules about excavators being driven on the road between properties without being floated. We had inquired years ago when we were building next to us if we could drive an excavator, but we were told it had to be floated next door. On November 29th of 2022, I inquired again by email with Antoine Boucher, who in short worded word for word under the HGAO Reg 398-16 road building machines, this remains a prohibition unless you are doing a road construction project. He also stated concerns with damage to municipal roads and traffic. I brought forward that the excavator next door was being driven between houses on Gilmet, which didn't seem fair, and asked why is it okay for them but not for the general public. I then got a reply stating, oh, it's actually case by case, and that you can submit a request and we can then give our recommendations. This is just to confirm how differently people are treated in the municipality. I was not advised of that either times I had inquired, and if that was the fact, that should be given when inquiring. I still think the township should enforce outside noise bylaws for contractors to use lower decibel generators and not super loud ones that can be heard at multiple houses acres apart. Greg then replied to me by email on December 14th, 2022, that the builder denied using a generator and that without direct evidence, he will not be taking any actions or issuing any fines. On December 14th, 2022, Greg phoned me stating that the meeting last night at council wanted to give us the opportunity to give input on the tree placement since they removed trees in the 8-meter buffer. The next day, I got 2 emails asking if I had drafted up a plan what our input would be. I replied to him saying, I spoke to my spouse last night and I said, you've barely given us 24 hours since you told us we were trying to get it done. I asked him what the rush was and he told me that he would get back to them right away. And then he said he wanted to get back to the contractor, the developer today. He then told me that if I didn't have anything submitted by the end of the day, he would move forward without our input. So we rushed and submitted our request, which 0 of it came out of the final decision greatly. Not only did nothing get taken into consideration, he dealt with the homeowners after we told him we didn't want issues with them since we know them, and that this was a Marcel Degani issue we had issues with. As per his letter dated December 21st, 2022, he stated the owner would be planting 10 trees 5 feet tall. This seems really silly since that is deer height, so they would just likely get eaten. And the amount of trees that they removed far exceeds the 10. Not to mention the backfill that they put for sand for the septic comes right up to almost our property line and is currently covering another 15 trees that are just going to die. I tried to discuss this issue with Jason Chache, but sent him 3 emails, which he never replied to. One of which was actually sent through Monica asking if I could set up a meeting with him. She said she would forward it to him. I also had a couple calls, but nothing was returned. Had the township addressed this initial concern and gone on site to confirm the septic was not where it was supposed to be, all of this could have been avoided. The township failed to do their job by dealing with the information provided and likely cost the homeowner money to move their septic, made our neighbors hate us, and ruined the privacy of my home, not to mention the enjoyment. I now have a hot tub that I don't use because I have 0 privacy and there's no trees between my house and the house next door. One last thing as well, one thing that was mentioned was setbacks, I was told are in place and that there was site compliance. And then Greg told me that there were no setbacks or site compliance for our lot. And then all of a sudden, yes, they are not compliant with site compliance. So I just wanted to see, bring these concerns forward. This is what happened to us. And I mean, why is the township not dealing with these things properly? I got penalized. My neighbor hates me. What happened to township staff for not following through with their job duties? What does township want to do going forward to make sure situations like this don't happen? And I'm open for questions if anybody has them.
I think you're almost 10 minutes right on, so you must.
Kind of.
Well, I didn't mean to make it like
No,
that.
that's all good.
Just a quick question. Is the house complete now?
Yes, they just moved in about 3 weeks ago.
Okay, so thank you. So I open it up to council members for comments, questions that you may have of Madame Lavigne.
So,
Oui, Deputy Mayor Riactors.
yeah, so when we met, there was direction that we gave in camera. So can I say it out loud, what the direction was?
I think everyone's discussed it multiple times, but
Well, I don't think we should. I think we should.
if it's
I think
discussed
it's
in camera,
It's in camera.
Part of the issue on this file is that there's matters of the neighbors that have become public issues, and I feel that, so on that note, we should keep what was discussed in camera, would be my recommendation.
Then I can't ask my question,
Oh, I see.
because I feel there's a discrepancy in the information that was given
Understand.
by council, and that was in Greg's
And
letter.
Deputy Mayor Reactors, you have expressed that, I believe. Would that be fair? Have you expressed that concern?
I have,
internally to-
yeah, so I just wanted it out public,
Yes,
that my question.
Right.
So,
So I will vouch for Madam Deputy Mayor Reactors, who brought forward concerns to council and to the staff, so that, yes, that was done. Right, yes. We, Councillor Kelly.
I take allegations of unfair treatment seriously. So I think the person accused of that should be allowed to say something in his defense. Greg, if you, through you, Mayor, I think it'd be unfair.
No.
No? Okay, so that's, okay, that's fine.
No doubt. Okay, thank you.
No, I
Councillor
just-
Kelly. I'm advising by our CEO, suggesting we not do that.
I wouldn't put a
Okay.
staff member on the spot. If they want to respond in writing to council, that's
Very good.
council's prerogative.
And I've been following this case through the texting and emails, and I thought that it had been taken care of during the description of the emails, and that there was dialogue between all three parties, and the fact that I think it was declared a few times that council doesn't get involved in land disputes between builders and neighbors. Is that correct? That was all in camera. That's public in the public domain.
Yeah, like some of these matters are civil matters.
Exactly.
And
And that was referred to as well.
And the site plan control, I will just say, the site plan control is between the municipality and De Gagne, who's the developer. Whatever De Gagne does with the homeowner afterwards and who pays for what, that's their business. We don't get into like the
Yes.
purchase sales agreements.
And that's what I understand. Information was passed on. So that's
Yeah,
all I have to say. Thank you.
like I understand there's a lot of frustration tonight, but even some of the presentation that's for me, there's not, there's inaccuracies, I will say. And I know this has dragged on for quite some time. I mean, the question's been brought up, how many times who should pay for the trees? What was discussed at that time was the direction was given to Marcel De Gagne to replant the trees. Whether he passed the cost on to whoever owns the house now, that's their business. We don't dictate who pays the trees. We have a site plan control agreement with De Gagne, who's a developer. He's to follow it. There was an amended one. If he's following it, that's what it is. We don't start dictating what Marcel pays for the trees or the homeowner pays for the trees. That's their deal. And I thought we clarified that multiple times.
So certainly, one comment, and basically at this point, go ahead, Melanie.
I haven't really touched on any of the trees in my thing. My concerns are, why did the township not do their job by enforcing site plan control before the trees were even removed? This is a before, everything you're referencing is after the fact. I'm not concerned about the public
Yeah.
matters. It's.
So many of the items that happened that weren't in line with the site plan control agreement happened. How do we reverse that? Well, you have them plant trees. So how can we enforce something after the fact? You can't.
But we were proactive. You guys didn't deal with it.
Okay, so then you ask me, how would we have responded to it once the trees are cut?
Well,
We can't say, can you rewind a day and go plant the trees?
Greg could have came out before the trees were cut down.
Greg was on vacation, was he not?
No, not when initially complaints went through. Somebody else from the township could have came. We complained in the summer that the stakes for things weren't what they were supposed to
Yeah.
be. And we were so, no, it's fine. Everything's good. Don't worry.
So the only thing we can do is leave your presentation with us and we'll respond formally. I have no issue with that. So.
Okay. But I can certainly conclude by saying that it is a matter that has been put in writing. We have had discussions, it has come to our attention. So I think we understand all the dimensions. And we do hope that your relationships with your neighbors goes well moving forward. And we appreciate very much, Madame Levine, that you bring this forward to us to understand. It's never a perfect world, if I may say so that way, for sure. We all know that, and we do the best we can moving forward.
I will type it up for you because I actually missed the page
Okay.
where I spoke to you and apparently I was pretty much harassing you. So I will follow up with that.
That's it, got it. All right. Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you for all council for the time you spent on this matter and municipal staff as well. I know it was a complex matter. And so we appreciate everyone's,
Councilor Trahan?
we, Councillor. Look, please, yes, do proceed. Yes, please state, Councillor Trahan. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm not too sure what we can ask for questions here or nothing, but the only thing that I'm I'm asking, and probably direction to the CEO is there going to be a rebuttal or to questions from Sonia, or what's the next stage here?
Go ahead, Mayor.
Well, that's what our CEO just mentioned, that he asked for the copy in writing so that we could provide a formal reply.
If that's the direction council wants to take, we take direction from council.
Correct.
So I think personally, I think there should be a rebuttal from staff with regards of the residents' concerns. Sorry, it's a little echoey, so it sounds like it's in a hallway a bit, the sound. So I apologize for repeating a question if it was already answered.
No, that was excellent. Thank you so much. So I do agree. Do we need we don't need a resolution. It's just a direction to CEO to provide a formal reply. So thank you, Councillor Trahan, for that. And we're good with that, Mr. CEO? Right, okay. On that note, we will conclude the discussion, and you will get that to us.
Yeah, do I just send it to him or to?
The clerk.
Yeah, okay, to the clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome to stay. Okay. Thank you. Good night. Yeah. Okay, so we will move forward with committee reports. Public Works. Oh, there was a Public Work meeting. Yes, so sorry. So we have minutes of January 2nd. And so I will turn it over to Councillor Champagne and Deputy Mayor Rouillacres to make any comments. Councillor Champagne.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, we had a meeting on January 26th. First meeting as a group for the new 23-25 season. 26, I believe, 4 years. A long time. Anyway, we talked a little bit about, we started talking about a little bit of capital budgets, but that's going to be coming up to when we do our budgets. We talked about the building across the road, the new construction. They're a little behind, but things are falling in, hopefully falling into place. I want to take my hat off to our employees. They've had to work out in pretty terrible weather for the last few months, and hopefully that transpires a little bit faster than what they are right now. It looks like they got the garage doors up, so I'll get a little bit of heat in there. Hopefully get 1 or 2 doors in there, but the weather's been cooperating this year. We've been lucky. If it wasn't for the weather this year, we'd be, I think the boys would be a little upset. I think they're enough upset already, but that's just an update. Winter operations, I went around with Deputy Mayor Rouillacres and kind of showed her why we do what we do in the winter maintenance, summer maintenance type thing. So she has an idea when people are calling her that why you're doing our roads first or second, or the case is primary roads to done first. So hopefully we'll have something in place to send out on our, even put on our website to where people understand where we go first, in color chart, whatever the case be. And then during the summertime, as far as maintenance, road maintenance, how we're going to go about it. And we got to work and tweak it out, and hopefully it falls into place. Speed reduction signs, we had talked about getting them done. As soon as the weather cooperates, the signs are ordered. The other one we talked about were the speed limit signs, the speed signs, trying to get more of them on some of our artery roads and people do actually see them. I think they work. Not the boards that we had before, but something that stays are more permanent than. And I think if you go to other municipalities or you go through some of the towns, you see them signs come up. They work. They slow them down to a minimum at least. And I think it'll help out because people say, well, this guy was going that fast and actually see it. We'll use Gilmet Road type thing and Quaker Road, especially Deerland Road, those roads that other municipalities go through our municipality to get shortcut to where they're going. They don't really care about our speeds, but we should. And our residents have made a point of it quite a few times. Roads capital projects, like I said, and what was the other thing? Speed limit signs, also the budgets. As far as that, that's all I have. Deputy Mayor, have you got something to add?
Yeah, I think there was just things about, there's diagram for the mailboxes, because I think people's mailboxes, there was some people were getting their mailboxes clipped.
Yeah, and if for sure, and I think Antoine's putting something together for it. And I know it's been a crazy year, like we talked about the weather. It's been more slush than snow. And when the guys are slushing, they seem to, and this year was worse than other years, the mailbox get hit and they get damaged. We fix them. And that's what our job is. And again, we got new drivers. We're not gonna blame it all on the drivers, but I mean, at the same time, there is a lot of slush out there this year and it's gonna happen next couple of days again, so.
It's not uncommon in a rural community.
No.
We're not the only municipality where mailbox.
And it's
is what it is.
It's not just a one-off, it seemed to all happen at the same snowfalls or same slushing program, so it's not like it's one day then or another storm. They all seem to happen at the same time.
Yeah.
One got knocked down twice within a couple of days.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, it was a good meeting and no, it's glad we're getting something done and enjoying working with Lauren on the committee.
Any questions of Councillor Champagne and Deputy Mayor Riacos? No? C'est bon? Okay, thank you so much. We had a community emergency management committee and basically we have minutes there as well that are included and we have a resolution as well. So two resolutions. It was a very good meeting and there was excellent updates made to our emergency plan that were been prepared. It's going to be coming to council. I think the work is being completed by the municipal staff, but a lot of good updates. And so on that note, I won't say much more. I think for tonight that suffices, but we have resolutions appointing who's going to chair the Community Emergency Management Committee. So I turn it over to Madame Clerk to present those.
Thank you. I require a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Champagne and seconded by Deputy Mayor Royaker. Whereas the Emergency Management Program Committee recommended to council that an agreement be executed between the municipality of East Ferris and Tim Shepherd for the services of CEMC, be it hereby resolved that council approves of this recommendation.
All in favor?
Oh, sure, it's great.
C'est bon? Thank you.
Sure.
Wait.
Second resolution, I require a mover. Moved by Councillor Kelly and seconded by Councillor. Oh, sorry, I apologize. Councillor Trahan.
Thank you.
Councillor Trahan. Need a TV right here. Whereas the Emergency Management Program Committee recommended to council that Fire Chief Steph Amias appoint an alternate CMC for the municipality of East Ferris. Be it hereby resolved that council approves of this recommendation.
All in favor? C'est bon, carry. Thank you so much. Any further comments or questions before we move on? There being none, it's good to see that our Fire and Emergency Services Committee is going to be meeting on February 27th. So that's excellent. There was a meeting of the Planning Committee on January 26th. So we turn it over to you, Councillor Kelly and Deputy Mayor Riacos.
Thank you. Basically, it was just for information purposes. There's been so many changes coming through. And Mr. Curtin took this committee through some of the changes, and they're drastic, quite frankly. He mentioned site plan control was just mentioned a little while ago, and that's going to be absent for single dwellings in the future. It's only going to apply for large groups of homes and so forth, subdivisions and that, because there's been a lot of pushback, especially in Southern Ontario, against in the housing. There's a drastic shortage all over the province, quite frankly. So, but I think, and like any pendulum, I think it's swung too far. So I think it's going to have to be tweaked a little bit down the road. But right now, basically, if I'm not mistaken, the Conservation Authority can no longer answer some questions that we've routinely asked. Is that correct? That's correct. So very difficult. It's going to be a learning curve for everyone, including our planner, who's kept on top of things extremely well, but there's a lot to digest for the new committee. Thank goodness we got some returning people who are knowledgeable. So, but we have our first meeting tomorrow night. Yes. It'll take about 20 hours.
And your pillow.
Do you have anything to add, Lauren? How'd you find it?
No, it was great information and.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
Good. We've got a really good committee and professionally led, so looking forward to the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments of the committee members? No. Excellent. So Committee of Adjustment, there was none. Parks and Recreation, there was a fairly lengthy meeting. And I did want to make just a few comments. I do very much want to thank our Director of Community Services, and he did an excellent job in leading us through. We reviewed the committee terms of reference as part of our meeting, and so that went really well. Two things, you'll see as part of the minutes that we mentioned that there's going to be an advisory, a mandate letter that will be sent out to the Parks, Recreation and Culture Committee, but a similar letter will be sent out to all of the committees. Basically, it's following our strategic plan that we approved tonight. These letters are then sent out to the committees, and it ensures alignment. And I was really pleased with the Economic Development Committee meeting minutes. It was as well aligned. And anyway, so not to digress, this is about Parks and Recreation. Overall, we discussed the program for the year, what we viewed as being some of the priorities. So certainly, one of them is that we do have to do an update on the recreational plan for the municipality. It was done back in 2013, and the focus back in 2013 was on facilities. There was very little on recreation. So this year, moving forward, we want this to be our first really plan for recreation. So we agreed to that. We also wanted to have as components of our plan, we know there's the active transportation plan that will fit in there as well. And we'll be rolling in once it's finished, the beautification project, our plan, I should call it. And it will also form part. It's just we've broken it out so that we can put a specific focus on that this year. We talked about the carnival, and very much I hope everyone will get a chance to participate in the carnival. But I do want to invite people, especially on the breakfast. The breakfast is being looked after on a Saturday morning by the East Ferris firefighters. They're the cooks, the chefs. And on the Sunday morning, it is the Parks, Recreation, Culture Committee and the council. And so I'd like to just officially announce that our CEO is the head chef. And
I don't know if that's going to be.
We'll see.
I do also want to mention that as part of the carnival, there was a wonderful fishing derby, except that I think next year they may consider moving it to the South Shore with our new installations there, because where it was held, they only catch perch. And it was, anyway, I mentioned that it was a fun day and the weather was great. There was wonderful fireworks. It was really great. There were so many people out at different spots around the lake. So anyway, I always say East Ferris does fireworks best. And every time they don't disappoint, they're long, there's lots. And so anyway, overall, wonderful. And just a wonderful event. Thank the sponsors. We have 30 sponsors that have stepped up to the plate. And the Carnival Committee, of course, have been doing a great job. So opening ceremonies, our MP and our MPP will be present for our opening ceremonies. And I'm hoping as many members of council that can be there on Friday at 5:45 to join at the front for the ribbon cutting ceremony. That would all be great. We talked about participation just because this year we said that we want to finish, we want to try to win it in Canada in June. So that's our goal. We put it in a community safety and well-being plan that in June, East Ferris will win the participation challenge. So we'll do our very best. We talked about Canada Day. The municipality has applied for funding. We talked about how this year we very much want the sports and volunteer recognition program. And we're going to keep in, there were points that had been mentioned about life achievement type awards to be incorporated. I think at our last council meeting, just want to mention to council that we will be incorporating that as part of that discussion. So basically that brings us to the end. I hope, I'm sorry, I know it was a bit long. So we do have a resolution, but I do want before that to pause and open it up to any comments or questions. Councillor Champagne.
I just have one question, Greg. I know somebody wanted to rent the arena in April, and they were told that they had to wait because we're passing a fees bylaw tonight.
The fees bylaw was supposed to be on the agenda tonight. It's got moved to the next meeting.
Okay.
So
I looked through the whole thing. I couldn't see it anywhere.
So just a bit of information on that. There was discussion. Councillor Kelly was the chair of Parks when we began the discussion about rentals during spring and summer when the ice was out, about how they weren't it wasn't overly feasible to have a birthday party at $50 for 3 hours when the staff had to be paid a minimum of 4 hours at X amount of money. And if it was like on a long weekend or a stat holiday, we were losing so much money for a $50 birthday party. So the discussion at that time was, do we change the fees and charges bylaw to have a premium for weekend rentals in spring, summer? It's very hard as a community to say we don't rent a facility on a weekend in the spring or summer. I mean, there are community events, there are weddings, there are baby showers, so on and so forth. The only thing we've asked before is that if it's under, like, just say 100 people or 120, the Corville Park Hall is a lot easier to rent out. You can just give out a key. There's kitchen facilities, bar facilities and everything, right? If it becomes the arena, it's a little more difficult. We have staff that are called in. So the talks were in the fees and charges bylaw to include those premium rates. So if you wanted to rent for a weekend, they're different rates. So in the fees and charges bylaw that comes forward, you will see premium rates. So it'll be passed. We're going to do first and second reading at the next meeting. And then the following meeting will pass with third reading as long as council's okay with that.
Yeah, the only stipulation is that they called in and made a reservation and they said it was available.
Yeah.
And then they said the fee changes will be done, but they've already sent everything out to all the members saying it's going to be on that date. I just want to make sure they don't get overly, like, I kind of give them a heads up. I said it's probably got a little extra money for it. They have no issue with it. They just need to know for sure.
Yeah.
Also, it's not going to
It
get.
should be more than 1,000 extra.
I think
We'll
that was
work with the
joke.
group and I'm aware of that reservation. Okay.
Okay. Wait, Councillor.
One other additional factor as well, just that came up was the safety factor.
Correct.
We got an ammonia plant sitting there,
Yeah.
and security is an issue.
Yeah.
So you've got to have two staff, quite frankly, and that, the cost come out, the cost of the municipality
Yeah.
versus what you're getting from.
It always depends on the event anyway. Like if it's a big event and there's, that's the capacity is over 300.
Exactly.
So if there was that kind of event and there was a lot going on and you would likely possibly have 2 people, it depends on the event,
Yes.
changing garbages or,
And you might have
yeah.
security there if it's all day long event as well, depending on what the event is.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
it brings up a good point that maybe one day we have to look at what does count. You're not gonna make a profit on everything, or you're not gonna break even on everything. But, I know of City of North Bay, Bigger Beast, they're a big city, right? At one time, just say they might have said, our cost recovery is 50%. Like we need to make 50% back. But and it could have been 75.
Sure.
All I'm saying is that if we had a target, that's what gives the direction in the future to set some of your fees in that. Or, if there's something that isn't in the bylaw and staff's subjected to it, I guess I would say, somebody wants to do something, you could say, well, our cost recovery is 75. So they can work out what that is and maybe make a different fee, but we're supposed to follow a fees and charges bylaw. So some things you will make 100% back and some things you're losing.
You're gonna lose.
We're not in the game of making a profit. I understand that. And we want facilities to be used. But we're trying to make it fair, like on both sides, right? So, because some taxpayers would argue, why am I subsidizing the usage of that hall? That's a user fee. They should pay 100%, just like, water in a city. It's user-based, right? It's not subsidized. So it's to find that middle ground.
We wouldn't have an arena though.
But we don't have an arena, no.
That was a good explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very complete. Thank you. Other comments, other questions? Okay, there being none, we will move forward with the resolution. Madam Clerk.
Okay, thank you. I require a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Kelly and seconded by
No, he's not doing anything.
Mayor Royaker. Whereas the Recreation Parks and Culture Committee endorsed the subcommittee of the Recreation Parks and Culture Committee and recommended to council that the draft terms of reference for the East Ferris beautification project be hereby adopted as circulated. Be it hereby resolved that council approves of this recommendation.
All in favor? C'est bon, Carrie, thank you so much. We move forward to Economic Development Committee and I turn it over to Deputy Mayor Royaker.
So we met first and Greg really ran the meeting for me, which is wonderful. Thank you. And we just went through the terms of reference. We went through our meeting schedule and frequency. So we're meeting on the fourth Wednesday of every month at 5 o'clock to accommodate people's work schedules. And we went through The Economic Development Committee strategic plan that was developed by the previous committee, which was great. And everybody agreed with those and had ideas, since we were sharing ideas. Yeah, I think that was about it. Now, we did have in here, and it's not put under recommendations, I think I mentioned this, is that we were going to have Karen bring to council that recommendation.
Yeah, and so.
We do have a resolution.
It is under the recommendation in the minutes of the economic.
Okay.
There is a resolution passed by the committee and they further in the resolution to recommend to council. So it's prepared. for this.
Okay, wonderful, right. I didn't see it afterwards, so I didn't know.
No, sometimes need to understand.
Yeah. Right there?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry. Okay.
Sometimes there's no attachment.
Oh, okay, I apologize. All right. So.
So I require a mover and a seconder.
It's not very well.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Roy Akers and seconded by Councillor Champagne. Whereas the Economic Development Committee recommended to council to hire Karen Jones Consulting to run the 2023 East Ferris Trade Show, be it hereby resolved that council approves of this recommendation.
All in favor? C'est bon, Karen, thank you so much. What are the dates? Would anyone know for the trade show? Is it the third weekend, last weekend in May? Is that correct? I would think the last week.
May 27th.
May 27th? Okay, May 27th. Anyway, last year was a real success. So we look forward to this year, and it keeps on getting better every year. So well done, municipality of East Ferris. Absolutely. We come to a striking committee. We held a meeting of the striking committee to name a member to the police services board. And I think it is self-explanatory. We had one applicant, and Madam Clerk, we turn it over to you for the motion.
Thank you. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Kelly and seconded by Councillor Tahan. Whereas the East Ferris Striking Committee recommended to council that Kurt Kaluski as application be approved to sit on the Police Services Board for the term of council 2022-26. Be it hereby resolved that council approves of this recommendation.
All in favor? C'est bon. Councillor Champagne, did you? Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, okay. Everyone in favor, great, carried. Thank you so much. And thank you to Mr. Kaluski for putting his name forward. That's absolutely wonderful. We move now to board reports, and we come to the week.
To comment, I had asked the meeting before, but I'm not going to speak on it tonight, but have an item on here for the district health unit.
We're coming to that. We have updates right here, and you're right there on
Board reports.
board reports.
Yeah, that's going to form part of the agenda.
So we'll start with the library.
Oh, there it is, okay.
Deputy Mayor Roy Akers.
It doesn't have anything.
Yeah, it's all good. There were two meetings, January 2nd and February 6th.
Yes. So we were going through the surveys. So the surveys are done, and Jennifer is going through and cleaning all the data. So getting it out. And she was just talking about one of the biggest issues was hours. Everybody wants more hours. So that was, and which is hard with the, with the budget. So anyways, she also talked about the biggest users of the library being people between 30 and 39, and also 5 and 14. So moms and children are really the biggest, the people who are using it the most. So that was interesting. And so we were still looking at all the data. Yeah, and then we were talking about just different projects that they're doing. The planning coordinator is really maxed out. So that is something that we're going to be sort of looking at, is how to be creative with her time, and because we as a committee were bringing up more projects that we wanted to do, and so Jennifer was reining us in. So anyways, that will be a discussion that we have to have about the planning coordinator. So I think that's what I brought from that.
Oh, Any questions of Deputy Mayor Mourakis? There were none. Excellent report. Thank you so much. We move to Police Services Board. I think our next, Madam Clerk, now that we've had an additional appointee, we will be setting a date in the.
It'll be after March 15th.
After March 15th. Okay. We come now to the board report. So these are our agencies. I guess we call them ABCs. And not that I like, I'll go first if I may, just because Castle Home is first on the list. And I simply wanted to provide a quick report to council. We will remember that following the last municipal elections, municipality of East Ferris forwarded a letter to all the municipalities. And we're asking for an update from the city of North Bay, because where we had left off is that the city of North Bay was going to be retaining a consultant. It was all the public resolutions, and that they were going to examine Castle Home moving to a municipal home owned by the city of North Bay. So we wanted to know where that process was at. And the other item that we had included in our letter is we had expressed some concerns that maybe there had been some change in the overall management and governance of Castle Arms. And so basically we had sent this letter out, and I think last week we met with all of the municipalities, mayors and CEOs, and I think council was advised of that we had a meeting. And at this meeting, it was probably the worst day of the winter so far. So half the members were online, but the turnout was excellent. And basically the city of North Bay, that is somewhat at the heart of some of these issues, did confirm that they were examining more closely the matter of Castle Arms, and they shared in the viewpoint that we had expressed as municipalities that there was a concern with how that had been, the changes that had been made. So they were going to take that and oversee changes to that, and they'd come back to the municipalities. But on the matter of the report, that they mentioned that as a result of the elections, that the work by the consultant had been put on hold during the elections, but that they were going to revive the work and that it was going to go forward, and that the report, I don't know, they did mention, I believe that it was KPMG. I don't think that's, so the consultant that's doing the work is KPMG, and that once the report is complete, it will come back to the city of North Bay, and it will come back to us as municipalities in terms of what are the outcomes. So that's where matters sit at this point, and we will wait for this report to be concluded. Any comments or questions on Castle Home? Bon. That brings us to, we also have the DSAP, the health unit, and the North Bay Manawa Conservation Authority. Now, I know that not everyone may have prepared comments, so no obligation, but if you'd like to provide an update on any meetings that you've had, this would be the opportune time to do so. Councillor Champagne, from the health unit.
On the health unit, I had our first meeting in January. I was elected to chair of the health unit. At the same time, I gave a copy of our CEO our presentation for our budget, and our budget basically is going up 0.3, or it actually is going down 0.3 it was before. But this is to do a lot of the one-time funding that we've been getting, but the eye opener is going to be in 2024 because of the shortfall. And what's happening even today, I know the province all agree with the federal money they got, but I believe, and that's what they're arguing, is a one-time funding. A lot of it's for COVID costs and everything else, but there's nothing there for public health, which we don't see it. It may be, but it's hidden there somewhere. So we don't know what we're going to get out of it, or if we will get anything out of it. So I got my eye on the puck, and I'm meeting with the medical officer and staff next week to kind of get me up to speed on what's happening and where I think, where they think the shortfalls are, and so we can kind of deal with it now before it comes up next year, because it's going to be it could be quite a bit of an impact on our budget for next year. Yeah, and I guess
We did receive our levy information today from the health unit. It'll be on the next agenda for the next meeting.
so they've been cutting back, and they're trying to keep, because they know of COVID and the other issues with the homelessness in the North Bay. So that's all stuff that they're dealing with. So, and it's all coming down on the municipalities at the end of the day. So So I'll keep you in the loop.
Any questions of Councillor Champagne? I don't think we publicly congratulate, I think we did at the end of the meeting, but I don't think we did it as part of formal meeting. I don't remember. So on behalf of Councillor Champagne, thank you for taking the lead on the health unit. It's a big organization. I think there are 31 municipalities that form part of the health unit altogether, because it is North Bay and Parry Sound Health Unit. So it's a very large organization. And so, yes, congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations, definitely. I think it does highlight how councillors and the mayor of East Ferris, the CEO and senior staff, we're actually leaders in our area. Because we really got way over our weight limit, quite frankly, in another boxing term. Rick is a past president of OGRA. The former mayor was on the Roma board for a number of years, and I've been lucky enough to be on Phenom for a number of years, and our engineer has had his own tributes going forward with the Engineering Society. So we've done really, really well for a small community, well represented provincially. So it's nice to be in a leadership role, quite frankly.
I guess what we're saying at the end of the day is that if we do complain, at least we get involved. Not to say that other municipalities don't, but we're willing to get our hands dirty
and spend time.
Get the point across.
Yep. We take it as a commitment. Yep. No, well, congratulations again, Rick.
I'm not sure if anyone else would like to mention if anything with respect to, so this would be the opportunity for any members that are on boards, if you'd like at an upcoming meeting to make a comment or make a brief report. No obligation. It's just if you feel there's something you read, Councillor.
Well, I've had one meeting. We've had a meeting collectively. DSAT a meeting, and quite frankly, majority still coming on Zoom. One or two going in person. The homelessness. It's just ongoing. When the province come out and said, as long as you can't house all the homeless, they can set up camp anywhere on municipal property. That's a major concern, and I know, talking to Councillor Trahan, the police department, because they become the front force there, trying to keep the peace between all parties. I mean, you've got encampments all across, and it doesn't matter where you go. A friend of mine is the mayor of Echo Bay up by the Sioux. They have the same problems they've got. And the problem is, it's part of it, but one is the province refuses to open back up some of the psych hospitals. Or if they do, they're little smaller numbers. Well, the population grows, the mentally ill population goes in tune. In fact, COVID's proven that the mentally ill, there's been an increase because of the COVID restrictions and so forth, isolation, whatever. But the other problem is to funding, and DSAB is very concerned because some of the shelters and it's inadequate funding, and no one's guaranteed long term. So they start a program works, and all of a sudden, well, no, we have cutbacks. Anyway, as I said, I'll keep council apprised of what's going on, but it's difficult. I feel sorry for the frontline staff because they have to deal with the results of the funding. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. So on that note, thank you so much to all for the department reports, and I don't think we have anything stemming from that, Madam Clerk, correct? So we move now to departmental reports. So sorry. Thank you those for the ABC reports. Now we move to departmental reports, and we have Mr. Curtin, who is going to speak to us about the road allowance on Durrell Road. So on that note, Mr. CEO, it's okay. We'll turn it over to Mr. Curtin. Wait, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Rick. So my report tonight is a follow-up report actually to a report that was before council on June 28th, 2022. So our process for the sale of the road allowance is basically 3 stages. So the first stage is a request by a potential purchaser to deem the land to be surplus. And that was the stage that took place on June 28th. So at that time, council agreed that this section of road allowance was surplus to our needs and resolution deeming the land to be so. And then the second stage in that process is an application being made by the potential purchaser. So that's a formal application that gets filed with the municipality, basically indicating their intent to purchase the section of land. So that's what's before you tonight. And then the third phase would be passing a bylaw to actually execute the sale and transfer. Given that the municipality has deemed this land to be surplus, and the application has been made by the applicant, we're basically recommending that we go ahead and endorse their application to allow them to move on to the surveying phase. A quick recap of the application, because it's been about 6-7 months, I guess 8 maybe if we're looking at it. Basically, between 23 and 27 Durrell Road, there's an unopened section of road allowance. It intersects Durrell Road at 90 degrees and goes down to Trail 8. It is not opened. There's no cleared land or no road work on the land. We attended the property in the summer with Antoine and Chief Lufin at the time. So we basically looked at whether there were any issues that would arise with fire department needing to use that for access to the lake. That there weren't. And then we assessed turnaround and snow removal conditions from a public works perspective. And our director of public works indicated there were no concerns. Basically what the applicants are seeking to do is split the road allowance down the middle and add half to each of their properties. They want to do this primarily just to add an additional buffer to their land. They have no development plans that I'm aware of. Theoretically, this could give them an additional space to maybe build a garage or something like that. But at the time of making the application, they indicated they just want to preserve their privacy and add to their land adjacent to each other. So based on that, we're recommending that we do endorse their application and allow them to proceed with survey work and to come back with a bylaw.
Wait, Councillor Champagne?
No, just thank you for the map. I like physically seeing it. That's awesome. Is that a 66-foot road allowance?
Yes,
So 33 feet on each side.
that's correct.
Okay.
Any further questions?
Right, there's significant bedrock there, right? Like I walked it as well. It's a cliff at the end of the water, right?
Yeah.
It's not like a nice gradual down to water. It's a rock cut basically at the water. So I remember going to that because I had a bit of a concern. Are we selling an access to water? It's not. You're not walking a canoe there and going into the water, right? So there wasn't really public use of it.
No, and that's the primary reason why Chief Lufin at the time indicated that it wasn't a practical location to draw water from for fire services.
So
And,
I don't see any fees on here. Is there a fee on this?
so the fee would be in accordance with our fees and charges bylaw. So that would be a rate of 75 cents per square foot for road allowances.
Okay, we'll proceed with the motion, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. I move her in a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Champagne, seconded by Councillor Shanahan. Okay. The municipality of East Ferris accepts the recommendation from the Director of Community Services contained in report number Plan 2023-01 and approve the application made by Ian and Jody Martin and Chris, Amy, and Karen McLennan to purchase the unopened municipal road allowance between 23 Durrell Road and 27 Durrell Road.
En favor? C'est bon, Councillor Champagne, I didn't see. Too quick for me. C'est bon, okay. Karen, thank you. Excellent. Okay, so on that note, we move to the next.
Okay, great.
report.
Like it was before.
And I believe you'll speak to it, Mr. Trottier. Okay, so next report by Mr. Trottier. Thank you.
Okay, so council, the report here from our engineer Antoine Boucher, report 2023-01. Back when we had a garage fire in March of 2022, at that time, we couldn't purchase new tandem trucks. So what we did is we had purchased 2 used tandem trucks. So a 2012 International and a 2014 Freightliner. Now that our 2 brand new trucks have been delivered, we're looking to declare these 2 items surplus and put them on gov deals basically on the auction. What Antoine's put forward here is a minimum reserve, so $85,000 for one, and $35,000 for the international. And that's the minimum that we would accept. So that's where the starting bids start. There's a bit of, when we looked at these, we looked at what we paid for the units, what we may have put into them, any money we may have put into them, but also what's the going rate for them now? Because I can tell you if I looked at for 2012 and we looked like through the market, Antoine and I, he had showed me what was out there. I mean, if you're going to price it much higher than what's already out there, you're not going to sell it. You won't even get the minimum.
For 10 years old.
So what we've done is price them basically where we think is a good starting point. What he indicates here, and this is just how GovDeals is set up. We pay a 7.5% commission to GovDeals to sell the unit for us. As part of that, they do all the paperwork. They do the bill of sale. They send us the bill of sale. Like we don't do any work. All administration is done by them. We basically sign a bill of sale to the highest bidder. They pick it up. They give us an ownership, and the check comes from GovDeals. There's no exchange of money. So they do all of that. And then also the purchaser has to pay a premium directly to GovDeals, which we don't take care of. So that's what he's indicated is a 5% buyer's premium. And then what he's indicated is if we weren't getting any bids at the closing time, we would have to reduce our minimum reserves is what is being suggested at this time.
Yeah, we talked about this at our roads meeting, and the one discussion that I did have, I said, it's the time to sell it now while there's snow on the ground.
Yeah.
You wait any longer, the price is gonna go down, it won't go up. Like right now, if anybody's looking for plows, it's the time to do it, so.
Yeah, so one truck got delivered at the end of December and then one got delivered towards the end of January. So now we're at the point where we can go ahead.
It filled the gap.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
If I may just mention one thing as well, the third tandem, we had picked up a 2019 tandem with very low mileage out of Mattawa. So that was already considered a new one. So that's why we only had 2 more to be delivered, just to clarify.
Oh, it's good. The boys will have new trucks to work with.
Yeah.
Okay, there being no further questions, let's proceed with the motion.
Thank you. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Ruyaker and seconded by Councillor Champagne. The Council for the Municipality of East Ferris accepts the recommendation from the municipal engineer contained in report number R 2023-01 and approve the declaration of surplus for the 2014 Freightliner tandem plow truck and the 2012 International tandem plow truck.
All in favor? C'est bon. Thank you so much. Excellent. That is good. And so we move forward now to the bylaws. And so, Mr. Tracy, did you want to touch on that, the bylaw with Enbridge? Or is it preliminary? Or
Monica will.
Madam Clerk will? Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
but this evening, what we're doing is just first and second reading, and then we're gonna back to the next meeting for a decision.
Correct. C'est bon. Okay.
So I did contact the Enbridge Gas, and it is a bylaw that the municipality entered to in 2003. And it's to serve about 118 ratepayers in the municipality of East Ferris, which forms part of Highway 94, Eglinton, Deerland. And the thing is, it's a reoccurring agreement that comes to council. And what they require now, they require a draft resolution from the municipality, and they require first and second reading to enter into this agreement to continue the service of natural gas to the residents down that way. And what will happen then, once we do first and second reading, it will take about 8 months before we get to do the third reading for it to be all approved by the Ontario Energy Board.
Okay.
So it's the same process as what they did in 2003. And it was established in, I believe, 1984, natural gas in East Ferris.
Any questions? For me, just the one comment, it'd be important that when we come to the final approval of the bylaw, that we be able to compare what the final bylaw is. Like that someone actually make sure that we compare it to what previously was to see if there's, what are the changes, if there are any, so that we are mindful of what we are. And I know it's a fairly lengthy document, so I'm not sure if that should be our solicitor, maybe that does a quick run through it. I leave that to staff, but I think that would be important.
What we'll do is we'll have the clerk go through it. But I think what we should do is on the Friday weekly report, the clerk could provide the bylaw from 20 years ago.
Yes.
So that any council member is interested to see what was signed in 2003, you've got that copy plus what's on the agenda this evening.
Okay.
And then we know that we've got, see, I thought we were gonna do third reading at the next meeting, but if it is 8 months, now we've
No,
got
I gotta
plenty of
send
time
this-
to look at it.
So now, once this is signed by the mayor and clerk tonight, first and second reading, I have to send 4 original copies to Enbridge Gas. And then they take that and then they bring it to the Ontario Energy Board.
Correct.
And they will review it, see if we're feasible to extend this agreement again. And if we are, then they send us a new contract with the date that it was passed at there. And so then we pass our third reading.
So that's where, could there be changes that are brought forward by the Ontario Energy Board that would then modify?
I don't believe the agreement itself that council has
Right.
presently will be changed. It just has to be left blank to put the date that it was approved by Enbridge Gas.
I'm trying to remember. I might have passed that motion.
Because it was in December 2003. So, and there should have been one 20 years before that too, around the 80s when it all came about.
So Madam Clerk, you're going to read through them and compare?
Yes, I'll do a review on them, and Friday weekly report, I'll send the 2003 bylaw and the agreement that's attached with it to council so they can check it, not with notes on it.
Monica, for our information as well, like I'll be honest with you, until we received this, I didn't know we had any gas in East Ferris.
Neither.
Our past mayor, East Ferris needs gas, right?
Yep.
So I don't think too many of us were aware. This is 20 years ago, but what I would suggest is we ask Enbridge for a list of either addresses or a map of the area, because there could be vacant lands that are available to get gas, but there's no development. Because I'm now interested to see where those.
I'll bring this to council's attention where I am on Highway 94.
Yeah,
Enbridge Gas doesn't recognize Corbeil or East Ferris on my billing. My billing is 1644 calendar. And it's a calendar post office.
post off, yeah,
Yes, because we had people that bought 2 years ago down the hill
yeah.
and they had a hard time getting natural gas
Yeah.
because they were East Ferris, but all the time it's calendar and they are East Ferris residents.
Anywhere west of the 4-lane has gas.
But the fire department, we responded to a gas leak
Wait,
one time. It was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Nothing
Actually-
happened. But
Actually, it was a, that was on Deerland Road, but we also had a structure fire right on by Edmonton. It was a garage that went up, a garage and a part of the house went up and
Exactly.
gas line that busted there.
Yep,
So we've had that gas for a long time.
yeah, it's been there for a long time, though, just like lines are old.
so it's certainly a good discussion and a good request as well to make sure we understand which vacant properties as we look at our light industrial parkland that's near there. And that was certainly, I think, always part of Councillor Trahan's ideas as well, that property, given it's adjacent to gas line. So on that note, Madam Clerk, do proceed with the first and second reading.
Thank you. I require a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Trahan. The bylaw number 2023-05 being a bylaw to authorize the franchise agreement between the Corporation of the Municipality of East Ferris and Enbridge Gas, Inc. be read a first and second time this 14th day of February 2023.
All in favor? Bon, carried. Thank you so much. We come to correspondence. Deputy Mayor Roy Akers, anything that you would like to mention or bring forward for further discussion?
Yeah, and I don't want to be greedy, so tell me, leave me in.
There's actually quite a few items.
There is,
Yes.
so, because I had like a list of questions, so I don't know if we can certainly share. So I don't want to, but I guess the first one is the official plan. When I was reading it, it was talking about like lots of different things came up in it. It's like a 10-year supply of residential land. And I know we've done a vacant land list. Have we?
Surplus.
Surplus?
Municipal lands.
Right.
So what we did in the last term of council is we did an inventory of all our lands that we have.
Right.
Some of it's been declared surplus, so what that means is we're willing to sell it to a buyer if everything works out,
Okay.
kind of thing.
Okay.
But then there's lands that if we haven't declared surplus, we're keeping them for our own use, right?
Right.
Our own inventory. So we've done that activity, so we're aware of what we have.
Mhm.
Yeah, what we had done as well is we sold some lands.
Mhm.
In the last term of council, things, land that we had declared surplus that was worth Quite a bit of money. So, yeah, so we have a list.
Yeah, okay. And I guess it's sort of, I guess what I don't know about, so is there like a mechanism? We want to, like, part of it is we want to keep our wellness. And we want to control, a sprawl, I guess, or developing every part. Do we have like a vision of how much would be developed and how much would be left? Does that make sense, what I'm trying to ask?
But two things, I'll just make a quick comment, and then I believe Mr. Curtin's approached the table to make comments in general on the official plan. But I do know that we did say at our last meeting that we're going to be, the updating of our official plan is coming forward. There will be a date, and that will be an opportunity for us to revise components of our official plan, and that's a visionary exercise in a sense. It's an opportunity to bring change. So that's going to be, I think, as part of our mandate in this term of council. This is something that will come to the planning committee and then come to council. But on that note, maybe if it's okay with you, with Deputy Mayor Riakers, well, I think, Mr. Curtin, I think you have comments that you want to make. Is that correct? On the official plan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I thought I would just go into a little more depth on what we received from the ministry. So this is a long time coming. Our initial approval of the official plan was in 2015 and then ultimately accepted by the province in April 2016. So we're going on almost 7 years. So the majority of our official plan was approved. So Deputy Mayor Riakers, to your comment about the housing supply, those are policies that have been in effect since 2016. So what we're looking at here is the final approval of certain sections that were withheld. So they were primarily our lake protection policies. There were some tweaks. If you read through their reminder things, they were mostly removing a couple words here, adding a couple words there. Just clarifying some of the things primarily around setbacks for septic systems in certain basins on both of our two major lakes. We will be updating our schedules. So we've been working with their GIS provider because there's schedule updates that are required. So the way the ministry implements their decision is that they implement the text copy of the plan, and then they request that the municipality update all the schedules. So we have been working with our GIS provider to do that. So we have changes that are required to all of our schedules, primarily around wording. So the ministry requested some identifying text for certain features of Trout Lake, and made some amendments to different buffer zones, et cetera. So we'll update that, and that will also reflect more recent lot fabric. So some of the schedules that you see, I think you may have had a question in the past about maybe not reflecting lots that are existing now. That would be because these schedules date back to 2016. But we'll be getting a full copy of the plan with updated schedules as soon as possible onto our website. So more broadly speaking, I mean, I'm obviously very happy to see this decision come through. It's something that I know a lot of our residents have been awaiting as well. And we finally kind of move forward with a completely approved plan now, which is nice. Maybe if council wishes, I could touch briefly on the comments about housing supply and kind of vision. So broadly speaking, the official plan really kind of is our vision from a land use planning perspective. So when it was approved, things like development protocols and like where and how we develop it was kind of laid out in the plan. So the province generally requests that municipalities have certain targets that they want to aim for keeping like housing stock like available. So what they want us to do is to have a 10-year supply of land that's like available and kind of ready to go, and a 3-year supply of lots that are created or in draft plan of subdivision or in some way like immediately ready to be built on. Honestly, we fall short of those targets. We build so quickly that we can't keep that supply. I know there's been a lot of development, and I know that's like a very hot topic in the community. But if we're looking at official plan targets for development, we build on lots too quickly to ever get to a point where we're exceeding thresholds. And the province does say that they want us to have at least 3 years supply. So if anything, we should be developing and approving lots more quickly than we are to meet those kind of visionary targets.
Okay, please proceed.
And I guess your last comment, sort of, can you repeat that again?
So I said that if we're looking at the targets that are set out in the vision for the plan, if we were to meet those more like strictly, we should be approving lots more quickly, and we should be developing more than we currently are.
So we should be, but that's not really our plan to do that. We want to sort of.
It's not so much that it's not our plan, it's just that we can't control what type of applications we receive.
Okay.
So we can't go out unless the municipality wants to take on lot development ourselves, which isn't really a standard kind of municipal like track of business. We can't go out and force private developers to come in with more land development applications. But based on those policies, we certainly should be supporting more if they do come in.
That's our current plan.
Yeah, that's our current plan.
That's done in 2016.
A question for Deputy Mayor Roykers. Are you trying to slow down?
Pardon me?
Are you trying to slow down our residential?
I guess not slow down, but
I would put,
like if we sort of had East Ferris, right? And we kind of go, okay, to keep rural, let's say, we need to keep 80% or 20% of the land open so that we have trees and fields and that rural field, right? Or that rural feel to it. So it is, what does that look like? Or because we keep.
without raising taxes?
Well, do you want to pave everything? Do you want a house on every 2 acres spot?
The big thing with this is if we own half the land in the town, we can control quite a bit. We own very little. So how do you control what someone else is doing with the land, right?
Exactly.
That's, if we owned a lot of land like the province does in terms of like crown lands and all that, you can just say, well, we're not selling, right?
Right.
But we're not the sellers of the land, so
Okay. So I guess I'm sort of thinking about other municipalities that I've been involved in, and we would not sever farmland, right? So we can control it by not severing right through the planning committee. So, I mean, I'm not saying anti-development. I'm just saying what is, if we in 50 years, what does East Ferris look like, right? Is there a house on every 2 acre piece of land?
And that's exactly the discussion that's going to take place at the planning committee where you're at. And those thoughts and those questions are exactly the questions that you'll want to bring forward for discussion. Because currently we're under a plan that was put forward back in 2016 when the number of houses being built was not the same degree, same numbers.
Right.
So that's the plan that's been approved that's before us. So that's not our challenge necessarily, but that's our current environment, I would say, that we're operating under.
Just for a bit of history, our average used to be 18 or 20 homes. And through the pandemic, we hit 29 and thought, oh, that's a lot of homes. And then we hit 50 last year. So it's not like we've seen this for 5 years and said, bring on all the development. It's just kind of hit us big in the last couple years.
Right. So it's sort of adopting to the new abnormalness of what's going on, right? We don't know and we can't plan. So should we sort of be having these conversations?
Like Ray mentioned, if you followed the plan or had to have the housing supply or the available, there'd be even more development than 50 a year, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what the province is asking for when they approve their development targets. One thing I would kind of suggest is whether or not this is the vision that we move forward with when we revise our plan or not. But when you look back at the approval process for the official plan, and kind of characterizing a rural environment and like what we would want to see in a rural environment as we define it. We lay out the standards: 2 acres per lot, minimum 60-meter frontage, different sizes for agricultural uses. We do talk about not converting agricultural land that's actively being farmed to residential. So we lay out these things that are supposed to form the view of what a rural landscape in East Ferris would look like. So in a way, the law standards that are laid out in the plan are what is protecting the ruralness as it was defined. I'm not saying that that is concrete, because an official plan is a living document that always has the potential to be changed. And if council decides that there's a different direction we'd like to go, that's certainly possible. But that is kind of how the vision was laid out in the 2016 iteration of the plan.
There were other elements as well that where we've maybe from a different angle, we've not necessarily met either. The plan was calling for higher density housing in our village cores. And while we've done an excellent job with the villas, obviously we probably could be doing some more higher density housing, but it's not easy because, I mean, we've had people that have come in and bought property, for example, for higher density projects that didn't realize that we're on septic and wells. And so it's not easy to build higher density housing with those restrictions. And then there's issues of affordable housing, it being profitable for them. And so certainly we've had our challenges in trying to meet those aspects as well. But maybe another question that you could answer is for the Trout Lake residents that have always been very concerned about the setbacks, where does that sit?
Setbacks with regards
from the distance for development from the
Lake.
Okay, so the setbacks are the primary driver for setbacks on our lakes are our surrounding septic systems. So the actual development setbacks for buildings have remained relatively consistent, but lot creation on the lakes is always the big topic. So we previously had a quota system. So it stemmed from an old Ontario Municipal Board hearing that involved East Ferris and North Bay, and a number of lots were able to be created where septic systems could be placed within 300 meters. That quota, well, first of all, the quota expired actually in the last couple of years, but the quota policies were removed as part of this decision. So it is very relevant to what we just received from the ministry. But essentially what that means is the setbacks on the lake for new development are 300 meters for a septic system to create a new lot. Existing lots of record don't fall under that required setback. They would fall under our zoning bylaw setback of 60 meters for the septic. But now their official plan has approved new lot creation needs to demonstrate a 300-meter setback to a septic system.
Wait, Councillor Champagne.
Just a question. This is all correspondence. So are you asking to bring this back to your planning or?
I'm just asking questions.
Okay.
Yeah. And sort of asking about mechanisms and that.
I'm just wondering if you wanted to come back or is this being
I
accepted?
apologize, Councillor Champagne. I've allowed a bit more discussion just because it is an update on our official plan. And so, but is there a formal presentation more than this that's planned, or is this basically people are up, can read the plan, and if they have any questions in the future, they can. And
it's like Greg indicated, the bulk of the plan was passed by council 2015 and it was brought to the ministry in 2016 for approval. It was approved in 16. It was only certain policies.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know what the split is, if it's 90%, 10%.
Probably even higher, 98% old to 2%.
2%. So
it's and they approved it largely as written. So these are policies that council has already adopted. I think that's actually important to note. So they made minor modifications to policies that were passed by council in 2015.
Yeah. What our plan was correspondence. So any member of the public that follows council meetings or follows the agenda is aware now that our official plan has been passed. Once we have everything ready to go and it's put on our website, we could put a post on the website under news and notices saying our official plan, it has been approved in its entirety. Yeah. And even on social media and direct them to the website where the new documents are held.
Oh, that would be.
We're only waiting for a few schedules, correct, right?
That's correct, yeah.
So I'm not sure what the timeline is on the schedules.
I would expect that we'll be able to do it within 7 to 10 days.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So there we go.
So a final question on the official plan, and we'll continue with the questions from Deputy Mayor Chiliakis. We, Councillor Kelly.
Just in answer to your question, and it's been a concern from a lot of residents, about maintaining the rural aspect. So one thing that might happen, you asked for a vision for the next 20 years. Right now, we're getting a lot of, the lakes, especially the West Basin, is full, basically. And the big lake is, in your area, is mostly full too as well. But I can see what happened, maybe what will happen down the road is, there's a lot of open space. If you go down Corbeil Road, there's very few working farms left anymore. So I can see people, and they own, and I know people personally that have 100, 200 acres back there. Maybe it's time in the next 10 years for council of the day to say, you know, you've got this 3 or 4 2-acre lots you're going to sell off, going to be houses. Are you willing to give a municipality the chance to buy the back 100, 200 acres, which is just sitting there fallow? And then you could make trails, you could make recreation areas and so forth, and it would be under municipal control. Would still retain the rural flavor, because if you're on the lake, as you know, you're on the lake, you look around, all you see is trees. But there's a lot of dottings around the edge, because that's where habitation is. Habitat will place along the roads because of driveways and so forth, access. But there's no saying that council at the time can't buy the back 200, 300 acres, make trails and so forth, and that would maintain. And if you look at Marcel Degagne's new subdivision on 94, he's done exactly that. He's got trails surrounding that whole new subdivision, because that's visions for the future. Something to think about.
You're going to have interesting discussions at the planning. Commission, so.
Bring your wallet.
Okay, on that note, do proceed, Deputy Mayor Riakos. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't have anything for the Treasury Board, but I did email the clerk, sorry, about the town of Petrolia. Yeah, sorry, I'm losing words in my, so just about, this is about the election, and that the municipality is responsible for the school board, and that the school board, or that this resolution, they want to move school board trustee elections over to the school board and out of the municipal realm, out of the clerk's realm. So anyways, and so I just thought that was an interesting letter, and I wanted to see, you know, with the clerk as to what she thought, that if it was expensive for us, or if it's annoying for us, or for the municipality, not for.
So basically, you're not asking for a resolution, you're asking for a report from Madam Clerk at our next meeting?
No, she just wanted my clarification, my thoughts on the resolution.
Okay, and you're ready for that?
Yeah, I prepared some notes in the same manner that I replied to Deputy Mayor Royaker's email. Right now, we have no choice. We are guided under the Municipal Elections Act to do the school board's elections. So first of all, that would have to be changed. But if the school board would assist in the costs, that would be wonderful. The only thing is it's not that great of an expense if we do have a municipal elections where we have trustees. The only thing we have is more or less your ballots. But we could be faced at one time where all our candidates are acclaimed. And then we have a school board election, then it's a full-blown election.
That's happened.
You're still talking same amount of money.
That's
So,
happened.
and East Ferris, it is a lot of work for the lead municipality as far as you have to contact all of the clerks that are in your district, and it's based on electors, school board support electors for the district. So East Ferris, we do 2. And this year we were lucky, we didn't have any. We didn't have a school board. Calendar had to have the one for the public school board. So they took care of that. But there is a lot of communications with clerk. And then you have to consider the fact as well with unorganized municipalities. So if you have unorganized townships, then you work with the school board, and the school board has to set up a polling station. So we have to train their staff to process the election, so they report all to us. Yeah, so it is not bothersome, annoying, but not annoying if you're doing a council election at the same time. But it's a lot of work. It's more work.
Mhm.
$18,000.
So there's certainly as well the vision, there's certainly as well the vision of education within a municipality that you have to take into account, because as it is set up, it is to tie in the educational sector into municipal action. So there is that to reflect on. Myself, I would suggest that we reflect on this if that would be appropriate, so that we could, and maybe we could keep, how do we keep it in our, just on our list of things to come back to?
On our radar?
Just,
Keep it on our radar.
Keep it on our
Okay.
radar.
Okay.
We could use on our,
Like, are you asking to defer to the
Defer.
next meeting? Like to bring back?
yes, I would say so. Yeah.
and I don't think, I think the resolution, they're simply asking to support as far as getting the school board to assist in the cost.
So exactly, so first, I had not read this, so I would encourage all members of council to read it now, and so it is being deferred to the next meeting. Thank you so much.
Yeah. The first thing I thought of when I read this though is you think of elections, that's every 4 years, but every year we collect education levies on behalf of the government, on behalf of the ministry,
Yes.
give it to the schools boards for free.
Yes.
That's our administration. That's on an annual, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And for us, we collect $1.2 million for the school boards and have to administer all of that and give it to them.
Yeah.
If we have outstanding tax arrears, that doesn't matter. We've got to pay that money up to the Ministry of Education, like to the boards, and we could be waiting for this money, right? So if you look at it, the election's one thing, but we're doing other things to help for free, for free.
Let's move on. Okay.
That's probably what they're talking about.
Any other items? Mayor, you're active.
Well, I don't want to keep up because I asked, I sort of before I sort of email my questions out to Jason and to other people to make sure I'm not out of order or anything, or it's okay. So I guess the one thing I was also thinking about was the impact assessment update. And, you know, Mr. Tranche had gave me an email about that. So I don't know if that's something
I can do a quick, the issue right now with assessment is, Deputy Mayor Roy Eckers had asked, does it affect us? It affects 444 municipalities in Ontario, right? The issue I see right now is we've got assessments like residents are paying taxes based on assessments from 2016.
Yes.
I know you'll say it's 2020, but what it is the value from 2016, the increase from the prior cycle to 2016, if it was $100,000 on your property, 25% gets phased in every year for a 4-year cycle. So by the time 2020 comes, you're paying on the assessment from 2016. So 2024 you should be paying on 2020s now, right? So like they've skipped 2020.
Yes.
So you're kind of 7 years behind right now.
Mhm.
So that's what the issue is. So, and I know residents will say, oh, the taxes are going up. Well, they're not going to. We're just going to adjust our tax rate to accommodate what we need to pass the budget. That's all it is, right?
We've always done.
Yeah. Some may look at it, residents, and say, okay, but if my impact assessment's not correct, if I'm selling my property right now, it's not based on the correct value, because your assessments are supposed to be market rates.
Yep.
But if you're putting it on the market, there's other means of, I guess, determining the market rate. So, I mean, to me, it's a worry because it's so far behind now.
Yes.
It sounds to me, talking to a representative from Impact, he's basically saying the next 2 years are going to stay the same because it doesn't matter. It's still at 2016.
So when they delayed it, I believe they said we're going to come back in because of the pandemic. It was like, we're going to come back in 2022. Then it became 2023. And when 2023 came close, they said, we're going to do it in 2024. I'm not sure if that's still what their direction is, but if that's the case, that would mean this year is a reassessment year.
Mhm. Mhm. So sorry, yeah. And quickly, what's the impact?
Sorry.
Impact is not a.
It was in the ammo communication and
Yes.
I'm sorry, I
Yes.
apologize.
Because they were asking for a call to action.
Right.
Yeah, so that's how that came up.
So that was January 16th, 2023.
Yes.
Ammo communication, sorry.
Yeah.
And it was,
So that's kind of like the concerns really, right?
Right,
But he did say, if we wanted a presentation, he would come.
yes.
as far as impact goes.
Sure.
What was that again? Sorry?
He said he was willing to come to council to speak about it if you wanted to talk about impact.
Oh, okay.
I think they've been before, right?
Yes,
They've
they've
been
been,
before.
the last, at the start of the term of council, they come.
Yeah.
And he will be coming probably at the end of February or March.
Okay.
Yeah.
They've reached out to us,
Steve MacArthur?
yeah,
What?
but the dates of our meetings conflicted with already commitments they made with Chisholm and other municipalities because they're the same evening. So he's gonna get back to Monica with a future date.
C'est bon?
So I guess the other thing that, there was a couple other things, but I think the leaches,
Yes, we should provide, correct. So to the leaches, our position as a council stands, and we have no further comments to provide. So staff can advise them accordingly that our position stands.
okay,
So there'll be no reduction
No.
to.
75 cents.
Yes,
okay.
as we mentioned to the Durrells this evening.
Okay. Yeah. And then Calendar had a lovely letter, Calendar and Area Food Bank, that they've had reserves and money, and the donations came in, and it's too bad that their numbers are growing in their need, but that they've done well to provide. So
The mayor's got a report.
Mhm.
When-
They wrote a letter.
Yes. It's a brief report. Yeah, so while we're on that, clearly I had mentioned that at the last council meeting, that we had discussions with the Calendar area. It's a Calendar District Food Bank, which covers East Ferris. And as I had mentioned years ago, the food bank had started in Corbeil. And I think we had that discussion, you may recall that, and there were council members that had been involved in the creation of the food bank way back. So it's always been at the heart of our community. We've always had organizations that give a lot, that are central. And so the report is to give an update on what is the status of the food bank. And so that's there. So thank you for raising that. Right. And thank you as well for the discussion on the education, Madam Clerk, for providing comments. That's well done. So there's matter here to reflect. So thank you so much. I think that's all good. And it's good to send our questions ahead of time to council, to municipal staff. I think that's always the best practice, and it's good that you did handle some of the questions that way. So you're okay. Yeah. Okay. Councillor Kelly.
Oh, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Trahan.
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Champagne.
Two items. One is Ontario Good Road Association delegations. Are we gonna have put something aside for that? For delegations coming up in April?
Okay, so
They want to know by March 17th.
correct.
Start giving some thought.
Right.
And the other thing is Matter Conservation Authority. I don't know if Councillor Trahan was at the last conservation meeting or not. I think it was one in January.
No, I got stuck at work that evening.
Okay, no problem. Steve, just to give you a heads up, meeting on December 14th, they had talked about budgets. And if you look under item, hang on a second.
Yes.
No,
Huh?
Matter of Conservation, hang on a second. We talk about Bill 23. If you look under capital budgets, which is item 8.
On the minutes?
On the minutes, yeah. We've always given to the ski hill. We've always been a separate item, like we do believe in the ski hill. But the building itself, it's a massive building, and the costs are coming up every year. And now they're looking at $300,000-$400,000. That's got to come back to us.
Mm.
The building is way too big for the conservation needs.
Yeah.
Okay, you should be looking at something else and maybe leasing that property out or something, because the ski hill is a North Bay thing, all right? I know we share in it, and we have always done that. But for capital projects, that's gonna come out of a percentage again. And they gotta be looking at this, Steve. I realize you're gonna be at the next meeting. I'm not put you on a spot or not, but that came up in December, and I just hope somebody else brings it up again. And if you look at these numbers, and it's
Yeah,
gonna
it's
be,
been brought up. It's gonna be brought up again. Yes, that's correct.
okay. So just as long as we're on the radar, Steve, is all I'm getting at. And I'm sure you will be, but it's just for background more than anything else, Steve.
Thanks.
Yes. I do believe he was aware of it. He had mentioned it. So good job. Yep. So very good. Anything else, Councillor Champagne?
No, that's it.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Okay, and on that note, then we move forward to approval of correspondence. Madam Clerk.
I require a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Champagne. The council approved the correspondence and information as circulated with the agenda of February 14th, 2023.
On favor? C'est bon, carried. Thank you so much. We move to action item B, support of resolution from the last council meeting. I think that was a recommendation, Madam Deputy Clerk, that you had made for, correct? Wait,
It was for a supported resolution. I require a mover and seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Roy Aker and seconded by Councillor
Tran?
Trahan. Okay. The Council for the Municipality of East Ferris supports the resolution from the municipality of Tweed to petition the Ontario Energy Board to regulate natural gas bill costs to level that are affordable and profitable as in jurisdiction within Ontario that have lower costs.
so now that we've realized that we have 194 homes,
No one.
118 that are on natural gas, so we, in support of that, all in favor? Councillor Tran, wait, okay, Carrie, thank you so much. We move then to a resolution for the approval of a strategic plan.
Thank you. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Champagne. The Council for the Municipality of East Ferris approved the 2023-2026 strategic plan as prepared and presented.
Any comments or questions before? As we know, this is a living document. We will be coming back to it on an annual basis when we examine our progress, or even more often if required. All in favor? C'est bon, Carrie, thank you so much. We thank you to the municipal staff for their time. Great council, team effort, huh? Just an equity, as we say, tonight we sign new checks with the new municipal logo. It's taken that long to run through all of our checks with the old logo. And so tonight we're on the new logo with, so it's good. Okay, so we move to the resolution for Enbridge.
That's right. This is the resolution they require with bylaw. So I require a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Trahan and seconded by Councillor Champagne. That the Council for the Municipality of East Ferris hereby approves the following. The council approves the form of a draft bylaw and franchise agreement attached hereto and authorizes the submission thereof to the Ontario Energy Board for pursuant to the provisions of Section 9 of the Municipal Franchise Act. That council requests that the Ontario Energy Board make an order declaring and directing that the assent of municipal electors to the attached draft bylaw and franchise agreement pertaining to the corporation of the municipality of East Ferris is not necessary pursuant to the provisions of Section 9(4) of the Municipal Franchise Act.
Any comments or questions? All in favor? Okay, thank you so much. I believe we come now to approval of accounts payable. Wait.
Mover in a seconder, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Roy Akers and Councillor Kelly. The council approved the general accounts for the municipality of East Ferris as indicated in the check registers dated February 14, 2023 in the amount of $2,667,885.05.
All in favor? Thank you so much. Other business, I believe Councillor Kelly mentioned that you had two items that you wanted to raise under business.
I've got three, actually. One is just basically housekeeping. I went to Chip Tops and they said we're only picking up one pair of pants and we really need two pair of pants. When we go to a convention, if you spill something, you've got another pair of pants to wear. I think we need also, we need two formal long sleeve shirts in the winter and two short shirts in the summer. That's just, as I say, general housekeeping. So I don't know if that we need approval for that, or I don't know who decided, whatever, but.
I don't know what the budget is that we have for
Okay.
attire, so we will make that a recommendation to our CO to.
What I can clarify is
Sure.
council did approve the suit, two long sleeve dress shirts.
Yeah.
The summer ones, are they the logo?
Well, I was gonna pick up two.
Short sleeve dress shirt.
Dress shirts with a tie, but I'd wear the jacket over. Then you take the jacket off, you still got a dress shirt on.
Yeah.
Short shirt.
So we can do it two ways. I mean, council could decide this evening for the additional expenses, or we can discuss it at
We're not
budget.
talking all the windows, so I can't see it. As I said, it's housekeeping.
To me, it's a council decision for your attire.
Okay,
Okay.
is everyone, are there any other issues with the attire before we move forward on this item?
Well, I agree that we should, most of we go on conferences and stuff like that. You have an accident, you spill something on your pants or shirt or something like that. A couple pants, a couple shirts, I totally know with that. I don't think this is big money. This is if you look good, you feel good, and we're out in public here, so I totally agree with Councillor Kelly.
It's a uniform is what you're stating. It's a
Exactly.
uniform.
We
right.
look, trustee, we do stand out.
The one thing I do agree with is, these are nice for golf shirts or whatever, but you're wearing a jacket and you got the shirt, it mismatches. So we don't need the emblem, we just need short sleeve shirts.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think there's an agreement around the table that we need to get what is required. From Deputy Mayor Rouillacre, any comments from your end in terms of, you've not been able to wear the attire yet?
No.
So do you want to reserve your comments to,
Well, I haven't thought about it, so.
okay?
What it would be is an additional pair of pants and two shorts
Okay.
and shirts for summer,
Yeah.
additional.
Okay, all right. We don't need an all in favor. I guess there is support, so we're good to proceed.
As I said, it's
Yeah,
housekeeping.
thank you.
Other thing is, and once again, I think the political correctness pendulum has swung way too far, and I know it came up, I think it was about 3 years ago about this. I'd like to revisit, quite frankly, and I have my recommendations. We go out for dinner when we're on a convention. We have breakfast usually, it's informal, it's laid out, whatever, that's fine. But then we go for lunch, and we usually order a glass of wine, glass of spirits, whatever. And for dinner, we usually have just one. For dinner, we might have two. And I think it should be covered by the bill. Towards the tax, I've talked to member taxpayers about it. We don't need a corner diner. We're eating in a nice restaurant. We're away from our homes, quite frankly. I personally don't go out that much. I like my home cooking, but we're out, you want to eat good, you're usually going to have a couple of glasses of wine, maybe whatever, but at least two. I think an alcoholic beverage at noon and two at supper. As I say, I think it should be covered. And there again, we did a food, we have a price. I don't think it's relevant in the major cities because quite frankly, $50 for a meal in a good steakhouse or wherever we're going in Toronto or Ottawa, wherever we happen to be in a major city, it's not enough.
Well, two things, just to make a comment to your point, they say that, when you travel on business, you should travel in the same way that you would and eat in the same manner that you would at home. Okay, that I've always kept that in the back of my mind. At the same time, in municipalities, there has been abuse of alcohol in gatherings and in meetings. And so what I would recommend is that we let our staff look at what are some of the other policies and how do they integrate a reasonable use of alcohol. And I don't think we should decide tonight. I think we should take a good look at it to make sure that we do the right thing. But personally, I understand exactly. I just want to make sure that, and I believe even in the history of East Fairs, in the community, there had been concerns on some of those matters. So that's why the policies eventually came to what they are. But to your point, I do agree with you.
What I'm getting at is I think the pendulum swung too far. I know if you did a plebiscite in the area, no alcohol is taken care of, I think it's wrong. You're traveling, for starters, we go because it's a requirement of the position.
Yes.
Quite in fairness. You're going to Toronto, you're going to London, you're going Hamilton, wherever. I just think it's reasonable.
And we may find that there are examples out. That's why I say.
I think it'd be hard pressed to find one. I think, as I say, once again, we'd be the leader in the area saying, you know what, that's a rational policy. Everybody feels the same way. I've talked to a lot of councils and they're saying, yeah, basically, We order something, we gotta pay, and then you talk to the waiter, well, separate this, separate that, bunch of nonsense.
Mayor Rochford, can I make a couple points? One thing to remember is the policy for council applies to staff and fire department. Everyone follows the same policy, right? So I know for my staff, I'm not allowing them to be covered for alcohol. I mean, it's a business function, I guess I would say, right? Same for the fire department, but if you want to address that matter, there's only one thing I find with the policy that isn't correct. And we passed this in the last term of council. We stipulated $20 for breakfast, 30 for supper, or for lunch, and 50 for supper, with no increases in the future. And I found what happened in the past when we had policies like that is 5 to 10 years later, when you decide to revisit the policy, the numbers are out of whack because of inflation.
Yep.
CPI. So a lot of policies will dictate, like we covered kilometers well. The kilometer rate changes every year based on the CRA allowable rate. You never fall behind because they're looking at gas costs, automobile maintenance costs, things like that. Our policy never addressed that. So $100 5 years ago, and if we wait another 5, is no longer the same 100. So that was my only thing with the policy, is that if someone says, you know, I'd like to have alcohol and all that, the idea with the per diem was we don't submit receipts. You get $100 a day for food. If somebody decides they want to spend $100 on beer and someone spends $100 on eggs, we don't ask for receipts. That's at your prerogative, what you spent it on. But there was a reasonable allowable amount, even based on CRA standards.
5 years ago.
So
Yes.
when we passed the policy between 2018 and 2020, I'm not sure what year it was.
Quite frankly.
So
So anyway, that's my thought. I don't know how everybody else feels around the table.
But Councillor Kelly, for sure, the cost we know in these large hotels is incredible. I mean, it's when you go there, you have.
Breakfast is $28 to $35.
Yes, so is the recommendation maybe to encourage if we turn it over to our staff, to maybe look at the per diem if we haven't looked at them, and this evening you brought us an article.
I was gonna get to that after I finish talking about this one.
So would it be all right, in general, if you were to direct our CEO to look at the per diems, because he's just said that they haven't been updated in a while, to see if they need to be adjusted to this current environment? Would that be appropriate?
But you're correct, though. We go for dinner now or for lunch, you've already passed your $100.
Yes.
And then you try to throw another $50 in it, just that the math doesn't work. And we've been out together. The $100 doesn't cut anymore. And I agree with what CEO was saying too, is that you got to make the per diem higher, and then what we do with it is our.
Yeah, so it's a good
Okay,
comment.
so I just don't want to stall. I feel like, quite frankly, I went to TikTok, I thought, this is nickel and dime nonsense. We're getting nickel and dime here. And that's why I brought the article in. And that shows how far back we are, quite frankly. Because here's Deep River. I mean, it's out there in the public. It's just come out of the NERC.
Councillor,
Sorry.
would you mention it describe?
Fran, you must have a comment.
No, does he know what we're looking at? Councillor Trahan, this evening, Councillor Kelly brought in an article that appeared in the, I know I had the paper somewhere, so sorry. Was it in the?
It's in the North Renfrew Times.
In the North Renfrew Times.
Yeah.
So, and it touches on how they've tweaked the council pay. And Councillor Kelly is suggesting that both on our per diems, as he's mentioned, for our meals, and as well potentially pay for council is now in need of an adjustment given the increase in the cost of living, increase in inflation. So basically, would that be fair?
That's
Summary?
yes.
Yes. So he's asking us to provide a direction to our CEO to look at these matters and to bring forth a recommendation of what these adjustments might be, should be, so that we are keeping in par with our industry, our sector, in other words.
Absolutely.
So, yes,
If you, it should be reviewed. Absolutely, it should be reviewed yearly, or if not by every second year. Things are it is I would say unbalanced at this time. It would probably be a good word to use. So there's nothing wrong with taking a look at it, and if there's some changes that be made, then we'll make the changes. If things fall in line, then so be it. So
we had looked at our
remuneration.
remuneration in the fall. However, the context has evolved over the winter months with inflation. So I think this is what is being suggested here, that there should be an update on the issues of compensation for council. So I see 2 council members that are in support of this direction. And I see 3 members that are in support of this direction. Councilor Kelly.
In addition to that, I put out this because in the middle of 2022, if I'm not mistaken, Jason, through you, Mayor, didn't we give our staff $1,200?
$1,250.
$1,250 each because of the rapid inflation that's running in 6 and 7%. When we passed the bylaw about the new term, we still stuck to the 3, 2.5, or
2%.
2% for the next per year for the next 4 years. But with inflation running at 6%, we're already behind between 6 and 7%. We're already behind 4 to 5%. And we don't, and there again, there's the problem with percentages because we're not here to make money. This is not a full-time job, but it's certainly a full-time, part-time job. And it's becoming more and more onerous as time goes on, and we have an influx of a lot of people as we go.
Just cover your cost.
Exactly, quite frankly. So the increase we got would basically, if you had a pickup truck, it would give you 2 Phillips for gas, the increase. So, and the thing, it's true. I know, because my daughter has a pickup truck. Basically, it was about $300 per year, the increase.
So
Not a lot of money. So what I'm saying is, if the inflation rate, and it shows no sign of slowing down, at the end of this year, we're going to be 6 to probably 10% behind. And quite frankly, it shouldn't be costing money to sit here. So, and as I say, if they went in Deep River, now Deep River is about 4,400 people, just letting people know, okay? They are a full service municipality. They do have water, they have sewer, they have rural areas as well. They have a downtown. But we have the same, but it's spread out. We don't have water and sewer, but we have Headwater Lakes that we have to care for. I mean, we have a lot of responsibilities. But they went from $10,000 basically for each counselor. They went up to 17,000. Now that's quite an increase. They also kept in mind that at one time, council salary was like, if you're an MPP, a lot of your salary is protected from taxes. We pay full taxes. We were protected at one time. I think a third, Jason? Is that correct?
So,
A third was, a third
used
was
to be a third that was
Tax-free.
non-taxable, government changed it. So at that time, we adjusted council remuneration.
Exactly.
Took that into account.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that's ongoing. So as I say, I'm just putting it out there. I want to be fair. I also want to attract good people to these positions.
that's a good point.
You know, it shouldn't cost money because right now it's basically a little less than $1,000 a month. And it's completely taxable.
And so I think the direction is overall, I mean, to our CEO to examine this as a recommendation. In our I can't recall our comparator group for, is it just the what is our comparator group for East Terrace? I apologize.
Mayor Rochford, a few years back, when we had reviewed the bylaw, we had done comparables at that time.
Correct.
The last one in the fall, we did not. We
Okay.
did 2% across the board. I actually believe 4 years before that, when we did 3% across the board, that was not a comparable either. So we're probably dating back close to 3 terms from now.
I see that Deep River uses their surrounding communities, but personally, I feel like what Councillor Kelly is mentioning, it should be comparable sized communities to us, right? In that sense.
And value wise, because
yes.
we are surrounded unfortunately by communities that are not as well off as we are. We are the leaders financially and we are the leaders politically, quite frankly. The only 2 centers I can think of larger than us, well, it's West Nipissing and North Bay. Quite frankly, now, if you look at Deep River was behind, and they compared them to each one to Renfrew, Arnprior, Petawawa, Laurentian Valley, Madawaska Valley, which is Barry's Bay, and Whitewater, which is made up of Cobden and Beechburg.
That's why I say they use the surrounding municipalities, but is that the right comparator group?
Well, it
That's a
is.
question maybe for our CEO.
They're the same, basically the same size. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, correct.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
And assessment wise, we'd be in the same market.
Yeah, we will. That's right.
So,
It will become difficult if you start comparing, and I'll tell you why. There's some communities pay by the meeting. It isn't an annual or monthly amount, right? Some of them, they may get higher per diems because their salaries are lower.
Sure.
I know surrounding communities have reached out to us. They'll say, can we get your council remuneration bylaw? Here you go, right? So if they're all passed by bylaw, you could pretty much pull the information and do a search.
All right.
But I mean, how far do we want to go? Do we want to look
I
at?
just think we're falling behind.
So what would be the best practice in a comparative group for municipalities, about 9 or 10 or potentially? I don't know. I guess
Well, we can
We can look at it.
we could look at
look
it.
at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I see the merits of looking at surrounding communities and even maybe if you're gonna do that, then go on a per capita basis kind of thing, like
Yes.
population wise.
population-wise, yeah.
But then that's not perfect either.
No.
And if you start pulling municipalities that are 5,000 of population, is that fair? You know, there's probably quite a few in Ontario. And if you start pulling 10 out of a possible 20, well, which 10 are you pulling?
All I'm saying is, it's like, okay, it's like when you do a wage structure and you look at differentials, you look at the position, you look at the ability to pay, there's a lot of intangibles. But all I'm saying is, I think we're in need of an adjustment, that's all.
Yes. So if council wants like a more of a review,
Yeah.
sure, that's the direction. If not, there's also a way of doing, well, what was inflation? Do we tack on a percentage and start from there and then do an annual increase from that bump?
The problem with percentages is you're dealing with a small number to start off with. I mean, a 10% increase of $10,000 is $1,000. You know,
Okay,
as I say, Deep River went from 10 to 17. That's significant.
All right.
so we'll do a council remuneration
16.5 is fine.
and a council per diem.
I mean, it is true that council members spend a lot of time. It's surprising. As I said, I remember you asked me, Deputy Mayor Reactors, how much time? And yeah, I usually say 6 to 7. It's almost a full-time day. And it's surprising. the amount of
I
time.
think Councillor Champagne had Councillor Champagne had an excellent comment when he said, we don't only recognize a problem, we get involved. And we do that. Councillor Trahan's the same way. And I know already from the question she's asking, young lady across from me is going to be doing the same thing. So, you know, involvement. No, it's a commitment.
The municipal staff.
This isn't just a pretty face sitting here. Well, that wasn't that funny. Come on.
I didn't know you were a mind reader.
Oh, that's $6,000 right there.
I know. So sorry. Anyway, okay, thank you.
We're going to Canberra. I have a verbal report to make.
Correct, yes. So we finished other business. Thank you. And thank
Take
you.
a break.
We go into in camera now, Madam Clerk.
You said you needed to put something on there,
In camera.
Sorry, we have a.
but it falls under identifiable individual.
Identify individuals and also real estate. Yes.
Oh, okay. I have. to
I'm
find
sorry,
out.
but it's here.
Okay, so just bear with me for a second.
Oh, yes, we'll treat that first too.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Gotta go to the washroom.
We,
Take-
2 minutes, and we're gonna take a 2-minute break. Councilor Trahan, 2 minutes. You have to.
How about we first go in camera,
Oh, wait, okay.
pass the resolution,
Sure.
then once we get off,
Good.
Good idea.
take a 2-minute washroom break.
Yeah.
So are you going to be talking about our land adjacent?
No.
No?
Oh, yes.
Yes, okay,
Yes.
okay. Okay, so I require a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Champagne and seconded by Councillor Kelly. That this meeting proceeds to in-camera session at 8:07 PM under section 239 bracket 2 bracket B of the Municipal Act 2001 SO 2001 chapter 25 in order to address matters pertaining to personal matters of the identifiable individuals, including municipal or local employees, and a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board.
Yes.
All in favor?